Hello, welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug. What's happening, everybody? Hope everybody's doing good today. Today's a pretty good day. So it's day after Easter. Everything's going pretty good, man. But thank you for joining the podcast this morning or this afternoon. If you would please join me in a moment of silence, followed by the Serenity Prayer before we get started. For the addict who still suffers, and for those of you who are still in the struggle, and if you would please, a moment of silence. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, wisdom to know the difference. Alrighty, well, let's get started. Man, so how's it going, man? It's been going pretty good since yesterday. Yesterday was a great day, man. It's a great day to be alive, man. That's for sure. Compared to days that I used to spend in the world of addiction, man, yesterday was just a great blessing. You know what I mean? And I hope that you guys out there had just as a good day that I had, man, because it was great. But nonetheless, dude, let's get started, man. Today I ran across something that I wanted to talk about, and what I wanted to discuss is just the power of speaking, the power of chanting, the power of affirmation, and in retrospect, that when you speak things with conviction, when you have affirmations that you do on a daily basis, you, for some odd reason, I don't know what it is, but I'm assuming in my interpretation that it's just the power of the universe, the power of my higher power, the power of Mother Nature that brings all these energies into freaking focus. And when you chant things, when you speak things into existence, man, does that repetitiveness come into play in your life on a just exponential scale. You know what I mean? It really does. And I know this to be true because I do it on a daily basis now. This is one of the positive things that I've replaced through the negative things that I used to do in the addiction world. I've now replaced the way I speak, the way I affirmate, the way I just believe and the words that come out of my mouth are, I'm trying to do them all positive so that I bring positive karma, positive energies into existence for my life. And since I've been doing that, this last year and a half has just been amazing because I've gotten so much progress in my life out of it. You know what I mean? I've been able to attain and reach and conquer goals that I've been setting in my life. And from being an addict and being an addict that was out in that had relapsed and was out in the struggle for 5 years, and who landed in jail, who went to treatment center, and who went from being homeless, a drug addict that was homeless, a drug addict that landed in jail, a drug addict that landed in a treatment center, a drug addict that landed in a sober community, and now on his own, in his own apartment with his daughter, from being that addictive person that was out in the street to now, man, it's just a transformation that's amazing. And I can remember that last year in addiction that, man, I didn't see any future. You know what I mean? I didn't see any future, and any positive things those were the furthest things from my mind. You know what I mean? And am I glad? Am I happy? Am I grateful? Yes, yes, I am. I am very grateful that I was able to reconnect with those things that I used to practice, that I used to know that worked, and added of quite a few things to my what I like to call my recovery arsenal. And what I wanted to do is just share a few 5 things that I do that I picked up from someone, and that someone is Mr. Tony Robbins. Really good man. I love listening to this guy's the teachings, the motivational speaking, the value of somebody who has been there and done that. You know what I mean? A guy who had an alcoholic mother and this abusive thing with his mom, and you know, is just this great person who loves giving, who loves showing, who loves sharing, who loves teaching, and who is just this great person. You know what I mean? And I've been listening to Tony Robbins since the 80s, and just now, you know what I mean, am I actually putting things into practice? You know what I mean? Go figure, you know what I mean? That I've known about this person for this long, and I'm just now putting things that he's shown to be true and scientifically proven at that, you know what I mean? So let me take these things off and put these on so that I can read a few things that I jotted down. And there's 5 things that is something that you could do just like I've been doing. And the first thing, and this is mainly just things that you could say, and write these down, you know what I mean? Write these 5 things down, because that's what I did. I wrote these 5 things down, and I made sure that I practiced them, that it was a visual thing that I put up on my wall. So every time I got up in the morning and every time I went to bed, I said these things. And I still continue to do this type of practice even today. So the first thing is, write down, I choose to be positive. And when you do this, when you say something like that, when you say, I choose to be positive, you're throwing into existence that you want things to happen. You want to, that sets the mood for your mindset. You know what I mean? When you choose positivity starts choosing you, believe it or not. You know what I mean? And you know, this changes the script of your life is how Tony put it. You know what I mean? This changes the script of your life. When you wake up in the morning and you say something like, I choose to be positive, you know, you're putting things into action now. You know what I mean? When you know, instead of waking up and it's like, oh man, I gotta get up today, and oh gosh, I don't want to go to work. You know, oh, I'm so tired, or you know, another day, this day sucks, or oh, it's raining, oh, that's a bummer, or you know, when you start saying things like that, you're manifesting things like that. When you put that type of mentality and those type of things in your mind, and you're saying those things, well, that's the kind of mood that you're gonna have. You know what I mean? And negativity will come regardless. You know what I mean? Life will happen, and but when you're equipped with things like doing something like that every morning, and being aware, being mindful of your actions, of your thought processes, you know what I mean? You now are someone who has a positive mindset and who has the wisdom to know how to navigate the situations through your life. You know what I mean? And when you embrace positivity, you now take control of 90% of that thought process. You know what I mean? It's say that we think 10% of the things that we think are the things that we grab and that we do. And 90% of the things that we think are things that are the ones that we let in our subconscious mind and map our thought processes. So, you know, it's key and critical to understand that. You know what I mean? Because if you start your day with saying, I choose to be positive, then when you choose to do something, now you got that mindset, and that's what you let into your subconscious mind. So now your subconscious mind is like, okay, if I choose to be positive, if this is the thought that we're getting, now the mind is going to start just looking for positive things. You know what I mean? Okay, now let's move on to the second one. The second thing that you should write down and you know, affirmate every morning is, I am grateful for what I have. You know, a lot of people get up every day, and I used to do this. You know what I mean? I used to get up, and for the last, when I was in my last relapse that lasted 5 years, I woke up every day, and the first thing that I did when I woke up was, where's my bolo? I gotta smoke this. I gotta take a hit before I start my day. If I can't hit it, then my day's shot, and I'm pissed and irritated, and nothing's gonna get done. And if I don't have it, then that's the first thing I gotta go get. So now that's where my life is going for the day. You know what I mean? How you know, when I think about that, I'm just like, man, how much of a wasted time that and just this, I get mad at myself, you know what I mean, sometimes when I think about it, because I'm like, man, I spent 5 years of my life doing that, when I could have been 5 years advanced in a different life right now, you know what I mean? But, you know, I don't dwell on it, you know what I'm saying? But I gotta catch myself and say, you know what, it's okay, because you know why? You're here. And in the right here and the right now, you're doing positive things. You know what I mean? So, you know, gratitude is one of the most powerful energies that the universe has, as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? I'm, you know, because gratitude comes not only from the power and energies of the universe, but for me, I believe that it's a divine power. You know what I mean? Showing gratitude is a divine power that only comes from the divinity, and I'm the strong believer in that. You know what I mean? Everybody may have a different definition of what gratitude is and how they perceive it, but as far as I'm concerned, gratitude is the most powerful energy. It's one of the most powerful energies because it's a divine energy, and you know, because it works. It works in ways that you won't even realize that are working, and it aligns you for, you know, success, and it shifts your perspective without you even knowing. You know, just like when I said, when that first chant, you know, to choose to be positive. When you already choose to be positive, now positive things are just going to be coming your way, and that's what it means by that you align yourself in that way. So now, you know, your perspective of your daily life is changed. Now it's not negative anymore. Now it's in this positive thing. Now you're positive because you thought positive as soon as you got up. Now you're showing gratitude. So that comes hand in hand, you know what I mean? And it's easy to focus on, you know, what we lack or feel, you know, being focused on others and the success of others. You know, a lot of us do that. You know, I used to do that. You know what I mean? Being too focused on why am I addicted? Why am I homeless? Why am I still out in the street? Why did I become homeless? Why did I lose my business? Why did I lose my family? Why am I still out here? You know what I mean? I was just too caught up in that, and you know, I just had to stop and be grateful for the fact that, you know what, I'm still here. I'm still breathing. I'm still able to go and do whatever it is that I got to do. You know what I mean? All I know is that I need some help now to do it. And I was, by the grace of God, I was able to do that. And, showing gratitude, So the second thing that you want to be saying is, I'm grateful for what I have. You know what I mean? And a lot of people, might be thinking that, you know what, man, it's hard to be grateful when so much adversity is happening. But you know what? Be grateful for the adversity. And you might be thinking, what the heck? Be grateful for the adversity? There's no way I'm going to be grateful for this bad stuff that's happening to me. But you know what? If you stop and dissect that for a minute and understand why you're going through the things you're going through, if you dissect that, then 99% of the time when you do that, you're going to find that the next step to get out of the adversity is in the adversity. Because when I was in the adversities, when I was homeless and just being out there in the struggle and, dwelling that I lost my business and that I lost all my money and my vehicles and my family and just, going through this whole pity party. And, it took me, 5 years of being in this pity party. It was just like, you know what? I started thinking, I was like, you know what? You can do this again. I started thinking, I was like, you know what? When you first started that company, you started it with no money. $0. And you finally, the very first contract that I got was this $48,000 contract. I live in San Antonio, Texas. And I got this contract for $48,000 that needed to be done in 17 days. Oh no, it needed to be done in, about 17 or 18 days. And I got awarded this project. I had no money. I didn't even have anybody to help me yet work. I was just behind a computer and estimating and sending out these estimates to different contractors. And one came back and said, you know what, we're awarding you the project. And I flipped and I just went into panic mode, but I kind of gathered myself back together and it's like, you know what, I can do this. You went to project management school. You got a degree in project management, use that bachelor's degree for something. And I did. And I took a scenario out of my schooling and was able to navigate resources to go do this job. And guess what? I finished that job under budget and in under time. I finished it like 5 days early and way under budget. And it was just great feeling. And, I wound up having like 6 people that worked for me on that project. And we got it done. And this project, mind you, I was in San Antonio and this project's in Houston. You know what I mean? So, be grateful that, if you've gone through an adversity or whatever, analyze that adversity and say, you know what is it from this thing that I'm going through that is keeping me here? And when I did that, I realized that, you know what, dude? You're consuming this drug every day. You didn't do that when you first were out here in the street. As a matter of fact, for the first, couple of months, you didn't do any of it at all. And then now I find you're doing it every day, and all day. And I knew that I had to stop. You know what I mean? I knew that part of my life had to stop. And then I analyzed it again. I was thinking, well, what's your surroundings? What's your current situation? And my current situation was I had a girlfriend who wasn't stopping. I was living in one motel to the next. I was sometimes living in 10 communities. I didn't have a job. I was selling drugs to get drugs. And, I was like, okay, well, we know what we have to do. And I was able to dissect the adversity and move on. You know what I mean? So, so the next thing that we want to talk about is the third one. It's writing down and saying, I am capable. Okay, what did I write down? I am capable of... Okay, I'm sorry. Kind of can't read my own writing there for a minute. But it says, I am capable of achieving great things. I am capable of achieving great things. And saying something like this, saying this affirmation is about believing. You know what I mean? When you say something that I am capable of achieving great things, now you're in this mindset of that you believe it, and say it as if you already have it. Say it as if you're already doing this. You know what I mean? And believing that one thing can get better and it's going to get better. The ability to be whatever it is that you want or have whatever you want. When you believe those things, that is achieving great things. You know what I mean? You're able to achieve those things because now you believe it. You know what I mean? If you're saying something and you don't believe it, well then that's as far as it goes. You know what I mean? So make sure that you believe it, that you have faith in yourself. Because you can do something. You haven't been on this stronghold or bound down to whatever it is that bounds you down. You haven't been there all your whole life. You know what I mean? There's been parts of your life that you did do something. And take those, remember those things. And know that you can do it because you've done things before. So the next one is, number 4 is going to be... saying, I embrace challenges as opportunities for growth. Number 4, I embrace challenges as opportunities for growth. Now, this is about perspective. This is how you view obstacles in your own life. And because of challenges, now you can choose and see and respond to them in certain ways because now you have this positive mindset. Now you're grateful. Now you are mindful. Now you have this inner wisdom, if you will, that you can pick and choose. Now you understand the free will of picking and choosing the things that you know for a fact can help you. You know what I mean? And you know now the things that you don't want to go back to. You know what I mean? So, saying things like, I embrace challenges and not as opportunities for growth, that's exactly what I was talking about, how I had this challenge of, oh my God, I got this contract, now what do I do? You know what I mean? Now I remember that, well, I got a project management degree, now I can use that, and I used it, and now I'm conquered the goal that I was set out to do, and that was finishing a job, getting a job and finishing it and finishing it on time and under budget and getting paid. You know what I mean? And that 3-week job, made me $17,000. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's great to embrace challenges and as opportunities for growth. Now the last thing is number 5 is saying, I take action toward my goals every day. Man, this is a big one here because, now this is where intentions become reality. You know what I mean? Now this is, while everything else we discussed were crucial, this step is about taking action. You know what I mean? All the other steps were getting your mindset prepared, aligning the thought process. Now, in order for you to get to that next step, to the next goal, to conquer that addiction, to, conquer that weight loss, to, get out of that depression, to, get out of the suicidal thought, to get out of the PTSDs, whatever it is, it's the stronghold, right? Is now you have to take action. Now and this is taking action regardless if you feel like it or not. You know what I mean? Because when you take action, whether you feel like it or not, taking action in a positive sense gets you that much closer to recovery, to dealing with your stronghold, to losing the weight, to not feeling depressed, to not feeling suicidal. Those types of things, man. And it's beautiful, man. It's great when you take action. And the thing is that you don't have to take this massive action. All you got to do is do a little bit at a time, a little bit every single day. But the key here is, my friends, is to do it every single day. Repetitiveness is key. This person here that I'm talking about, Mr. Tony Robbins, he also talks about a lot of other mentors that he's had in his life, and all of these people that are, successful, they're billionaires, millionaires, motivational speakers, all these types of folks. What they do is they do things every single day to attain goals that they set. There's not one single day that they wake up and they don't do something about it. That's what separates them from the regular person. You know what I mean? And that's why I listen to these people. That's why I'm adopting things that they do, because I in turn want to be like that. You know what I mean? I don't want to be the homeless addict on the street. I don't want to be that person anymore. You know what I mean? I want to be successful. I want to be able to do podcasts and share words of wisdom and things that have helped me along the way to get to where I'm at today in the here and now. That it helps somebody else because somebody else's words helped me. You know what I mean? And to share that is just amazing to me. And I'm grateful for that. And that last one is key. Is just that the taking action is taking action toward my goals every day. You know what I mean? And all you have to do is just do a little bit at a time. You know what I mean? Rome wasn't built in a day. You know what I mean? The old cliche. And you're not going to get there overnight. You know what I mean? Nobody does. Nobody gets there overnight. Nobody changes overnight. And what it is, it's you have to do. This is a lifestyle. Okay? Let's make that clear. This is a lifestyle change. You have to change your lifestyle in order to get into this realm of positivity, spirituality, and recovery. And that's the honest to God truth. You know what I mean? And I know from experience, because I had to do that. I had to change people, places, and things. Everything that I was doing in the world of addiction, I had to change. 360-degree change. Because if I hung on to anything of my life in that sense when I was in the addiction, that is a stronghold that is going to linger. That's some baggage that I'm bringing with me, and eventually it's going to weigh me down, and eventually it's a crutch that's going to be there just in case I didn't decide that, hey, you know what, today's just too much. I think I'm going to go and mask that feeling, because that's what I do. If I go through adversity, if I go through sadness, if I go through depression, anger, whatever it is that I go through, if something comes back up and triggers the PTSDs or triggers the childhood traumatic experiences, then my go-to was to go use drugs, because that's how I mask those feelings. But today, I'm grateful, and I can honestly sit here and tell you that my mindset is different, because now I have the wisdom and I have the free will to pick and choose how I dictate my life. And I can just come back. I start veering off in my thought process, I come back. You know what I mean? And I take a 5-minute meditation break. I take a break every hour if you have to. You know what I mean? There was another exercise that they were talking about, that if you take 5 minutes out of every hour and just reflect on that hour, And do this on a daily basis. I mean, it could be do it daily. You know, but how many times have you finished your day out and you sat back and reflected on that day and think, man, what was it that I did today that furthered me into these goals that I'm trying to attain? What did I do today that helped me do that? And a lot of times, you know, we get stuck in that environment. You know what I mean? We're you know, magnetized to that environment, if you will. You know, that's how we're programmed. You know what I mean? And you just have to be able to have the wisdom, the knowledge, and the free will to pick and choose what you let into your subconscious mind and dictate your life. And if you sit back and at the end of the day and realize, hey man, I didn't do anything productive today, or I didn't do anything to attain my goal, you know what I mean? If that's the case, then you want to regroup and start over. You know, nobody says that just because you skipped a day, or, you know, it didn't work one day and you forgot or whatever, that's it. No, go back and regroup. Say, you know what, I'm going to do it again. And you keep doing it, because you know what, my friends? Doing things on a repetitive basis is what? It's just like the old saying says, practice makes perfection, right? Athletes do this all the time. So that they keep practicing to perfect a skill that they're trying to do. And it's the same thing in life. If you keep practicing to have a successful life, and however you want it to be succeeded in, whether it's helping people, whether it's having a better job, whether it's, you know, having better health, whatever it is, if you do something about it every single day, it doesn't matter if it's micro things, if you're micromanaging or macromanaging, it doesn't matter. Then so long that you're doing it, so long that you're putting one foot in front of the other, it doesn't matter how far that step is. Just know that when you do that, you're in a different place in the right here and now. It's just like if I stand up right here, if I take a foot forward and I step forward for a foot, then what I just stepped through no longer exists, because I just passed it. You know what I mean? Do you understand the metaphor there? I hope you do, because we live in a life like that. We live in a life of comes and goes, goodbyes and hellos. You know what I mean? It's seasons. Summer, winter, you know what I mean? And when you finish a season, then guess what? The season's gone, the season's over. You can no longer get that back. But what you can do is take that tape out of last year's Super Bowl and review what you did wrong, where you can polish up a little bit so that you're better the next year. You know what I'm saying? And that's the key. That's where that wisdom comes in. That now you have that wisdom. Now you know that when you start feeling a little bit going to the side or to the other side, now you know what to do to get your back in line with your energy of self and the divine energy of your higher power, man, because that's where you got to go. That's where it is that's going to give you your life on track and keep you going. You know what I mean? To have a successful life and a life that's not bound down to these strongholds. And for me, it was tough, because I dealt with a lot of stuff. I dealt with a lot of strongholds, and I mean, everything from childhood traumatic experiences to PTSDs to depression to suicidal thoughts to anger to sadness to drug and alcohol abuse. I mean, it's just all the way around, a whole mess of stuff. But I'm grateful that I'm able to be here today and share my story, message with you, so that maybe you can be helped, just like I was. And just know that you can get out of it. And things can get better. And things will get better. So, again, one more time, just a recap, is the 5 things that you could do on a daily basis. This is what I do, is chant these things. Number 1, I choose to be positive. Number 2, I am grateful for what I have. Number 3, I am capable of achieving great things. Number 4, I embrace challenges as opportunities for growth. And number 5, I take action towards my goals every day. Man, if you do those 5 things, I can guarantee you, your life will start changing just like mine did. And I guess at this time, man, if you would please give me a thumbs up, give me a like, hit that bell, hit that subscribe button, and please share my channel. And just know that when you do hit that subscribe button, you will be helping another veteran, another person dealing with homelessness, another person dealing with drug addiction and alcohol addiction, another person dealing with PTSD, childhood traumatic experiences, suicidal thoughts, anger issues, and sadness, man, because my friends, have dealt with all of those things. And just know that when you do press that subscribe button, it doesn't cost you a thing. But just know that you'll be helping somebody out. And I guess until the next time on When the Smoke Clears, I am the Recovery Plug.